got bored, so I decided to do a vlog. Hello, today is Tuesday, August 16th, 2016, and I am laying in the grass of the quad. It's my last day of summer, so how about that? Moving into Canada Hall tomorrow, and that'll be the start of my sophomore year, give or take. RHA going on, all that fun stuff. Look at this view, too. Whoa. All that fun stuff. Anyway, thought today's vlog would be about professors, because that's an important thing to know, and lots of you will be here very soon. So, as far as getting to know professors, understanding professors, that kind of thing, my first big takeaway is get to know them as people, because as you might have experienced at your K-12 career, you're like, okay, so-and-so is going to instruct my class, whether it be math or science or English or whatever, and so is the English teacher or the math teacher. Well, to really get to know a professor, don't imagine them as this guy is the core humanities professor. Be like, this guy is Dr. Laser. Like, get to know him as like person who just so happens to be teaching that subject. Because you will find in college that compared to K-12, your professors have a lot more discretion than you'd expect from, say, a K-12 classroom where there's a lot of bureaucracy, red tape, you gotta make sure you accomplish X, Y, Z. In the college, you get a lot more freedom. So, for the most part, the class is structured however the professor really wants it to be structured. So, if a person's a lot more laid back, then they're probably going to have a more laid back class. If they're a lot more uptight, then you might have a more traditional class, and whatever you consider traditional, whether it's like come to class, do a quiz, whatever. So, big thing is understand their perspective, see why they do it the way they do it, and you get to know why they enjoy their subject too, because when you have people with master's degrees or PhDs teaching these subjects, gotta realize that they are people who have invested lots and lots of their life into understanding the topic that they are teaching you today. And in some cases, maybe even teaching the subject wasn't their goal. If they are, say, a graduate student, they might just have to teach it because that's part of their program. So, understanding that, say, the person who's teaching me doesn't want to teach the subject anyway, well, it might be a little more difficult to learn it in that classroom than, say, if you had a professor who's all about that subject. So, understanding kind of their motivation, what they're into. I think a big thing on that, though, is just introducing yourself, especially when you're in those huge humongous lecture halls, if you're in like a 101 course. I know honors sections you'll have a small course, and those professors can learn your name like faster than you can learn their name. It's crazy. But if you're in one of those really big lecture halls, one thing I always recommend, or at least that I've come to learn, is, first day, introduce yourself. Be like, okay, after the syllabus is all done, come up with a question if you have one, or just get to know them a little more. Be like, okay, what got you interested in English writing, or what got you fascinated by bee populations in Nevada? Something like that. If that's their topic, then that's what they would probably be very interested in telling you about. And that way they can get to know you too, because going back to understanding professors, they are one person, they might have 2 or 3 TAs, but when they're teaching a course of, say, 200 students, they're not going to remember Joe Schmo right off the bat unless Joe Schmo was the guy who introduced himself on day 1 and wanted to know more about the professor, because otherwise you are going to be just a number, and the reality of that is, if you're freaking out about a grade or something, you're like, I should have done better. Well, if they don't know who you are, they're not going to judge you any differently than anyone else. Because the bottom line is a lot of it is just whatever they want. Even with grade curving, some professors curve, some don't, some do it differently than others. And that's the kind of stuff you're going to have to learn as you go. I mean, I've only had 7 different courses so far, and pretty much all of them have been taught in very different ways. Depends on the professor, depends on their style. So again, getting to know them, super important. And with that, we're at 5 minutes. Good vlog. DFTBA. See you soon, friends. Bye.